After Silent Night Deadly Night made its way in and out of theaters in 1984, 4 sequels and a loose remake followed. Silent Night Deadly Night Part 2 saw a now grown-up Ricky retell his brother's story as well as his own murderous past. Silent Night Deadly Night 3, Better Watch Out, followed a blind girl with a psychic connection to the formerly comatose Ricky. Silent Night Deadly Night 4, Initiation, diverged completely from the previously established story and threw in a cult of witches. Silent Night Deadly Night 5, The Toymaker, gave us a demented toy store owner and his son whose creations wreaked havoc on those in possession of them. And finally, Silent Night put a new spin on the slasher Santa while paying homage to the original. So without further ado, these are some things you didn't know about the Silent Night Deadly Night franchise.
The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there.
For the 2004 DVD release of Part 2, efforts were made to reach out to Eric Freeman, but no one could successfully contact him. However, he did contribute to the commentary of Scream Factory's 2018 Blu-ray release. The Salvation Army Santa Ricky Muggs and Murders was played by cinematographer Harvey Genkins. His voice was dubbed in by Joseph H. Early. Ricky and Jennifer's love scene was originally longer. Take that phrasing for what you will. Part 2 was Joanne White's singular nude scene in her acting career. Whether it was due to this film or other factors, White didn't get another role until about 14 years later. In case you didn't catch this, the movie that Ricky and Jennifer are watching in the theater is actually Silent Night Deadly Night 1984. Apparently, James L. Newman had been arguing with Lawrence Appelbaum on the day that his character's death was filmed. As a bit of a jab at him, when Dr. Bloom is being put in the body bag, Newman flips off the camera. Technically, we can't see this as other actors in the scene are blocking it. Lee Harry makes an appearance as the friend of the loudmouth in the theater, as well as providing the voice of the commentator during the Christmas parade. The movie that the gas station attendant is watching before he's murdered by Ricky is The Terror, 1963, which was one of the films Monte Hellman directed. The actress playing Newbury's assistant is actually Monte Hellman's daughter, Melissa Hellman. Why did Hellman take the part of the crude Santa that Ricky kills? This was because the scene had originally been shot with Richard C. Adams, the Santa in Laura's dream, but it came across as too mean-spirited, so Hellman reshot the scene during the last day of filming, and ad-libbed jokes and drinking to make his death less cruel. A lot of portions in Initiation were originally meant for Society 1989. The reason they ended up in this film was because they didn't fit in Society's plot. Clint Howard is the only actor to portray Ricky twice in the franchise. Granted, we're never outright told that this Ricky is the same as in the first 3 movies. A fun little wink you may have noticed is that the station on the television reporter's microphone is UZNA, this being a portion of Brian Yuzna's name. Quite a few scenes in Initiation had to be reshot. This was due to a camera malfunction discovered during a dailies viewing. One of these scenes was the climax on the rooftop. The rooftop was built on a soundstage for reshoots, as the production's lease for the actual building had expired. Brian Yuzna had said that he had no interest in using Christmas elements in Initiation. Later on, he ended up regretting this and attempted to make up for it with his work in The Toymaker. It's very possible that you can thank Initiation for the Metamorphosis by Frank Kafka. During the mall scene with Noah dressed as Santa, the little girl who speaks to him is Brian Yuzna's daughter, Zoe. One of the things she asks him for is Bride of Reanimator. Sarah's workplace was actually Live Home Video Headquarters, which is the company that distributed The Toymaker in the US. In case the subtle nods in The Toymaker to the story of Pinocchio were missed, Petto and Pino are shortened versions of Geppetto and Pinocchio. The book Meredith reads to Derek is Pinocchio. There are several homages in Silent Night to previous films, such as Dennis's grandfather warning him about Santa Claus, Tiffany getting impaled on antlers mounted on the wall, and Deputy Giles's line of "What is this, garbage day?" Silent Night is set in Wisconsin, which is a direct reference to the Milwaukee Protests of Silent Night Deadly Night 1984. In Silent Night, Cooper references CSI Miami. This is a series that Brendan Fair starred in as Dan Cooper. The scene in Silent Night where the killer Santa attempts to suffocate Maria with a shower curtain is a nod to Black Christmas 1974. Originally, producers had wanted for a couple of scenes to be added to Silent Night, Deadly Night 1984 for Part 2, to make it appear as though those events were just ravings from a mental patient. What the screenwriters ended up doing was creating stories around the patient's youth, and all the people he had killed. This wasn't enough for a proper feature-length film though, so the flashbacks to the first film were added. That's also why the credits are nearly 10 minutes long. Perhaps one reason why Eric Freeman's performance was the way it was because of Joseph H. Early and Lee Harry's direction. Freeman had aimed to make Ricky malevolent and cold. However, Harry wanted Ricky to be Krueger-esque, with wisecracks and one-liners, and Early told Freeman to go as over-the-top as possible. Part 2 was shot in just 10 days, 2 of which were devoted to the scenes between Ricky and Dr. Bloom. Ultimately, it was Freeman's appearance that got him the part of Ricky. According to Harry and Early, it had come down to Freeman and one other more experienced actor. One actor that Early and Harry wanted for Ricky was David Heavener, but Lawrence Appelbaum refused this because Heavener freaked him out. Charles E. Sellier Jr. was asked to direct Part 2, but he declined to do so. Darrel Guilbeau, who played Teen Ricky, is actually older than Eric Freeman by 3 years. Part 2 was banned in the UK. This was because the distributor refused to alter a murder scene, as well as a half-nude woman being killed. Shockingly, Better Watch Out was a rushed production, with a rewrite of the script having been done in just a week. Apparently, principal photography was completed by the end of April, editing was finished by May, and the film was screened in July. One version of Better Watch Out's script was disliked so much by Monte Hellman that Rex Weiner was brought in to write a new one. Further modifications were made by Hellman, his daughter, and Stephen Gaydos. The original script that S.J. Smith and Arthur Gorson had written was used to create Initiation. During an Alamo Drafthouse screening in Austin, Texas, Hellman claimed that he thought Better Watch Out wasn't his best movie, but it was his best work. Laura Harring and Samantha Scully had both auditioned for the roles of Laura and Jerry. According to Harring, a likely reason for her getting the role of Jerry is due to Scully refusing to go topless. As has been previously mentioned, there's a certain irony to Mickey Rooney starring in The Toymaker. During the height of Silent Night, Deadly Night 1984's controversy, Rooney had been part of the protest against it. He had written a letter that stated those involved in its making were scum and should be run out of town, since they sullied such a sacred holiday. Silent Night is loosely based on the Covina holiday massacre in 2008. Many characters and places are named after Leeds United football team members from the 1970s, like Giles, Cooper, Mackenzie, Jones, Revy, Jordan, Madeley, Reeney's Diner, and Bremer Street. Someone who was originally considered to direct Silent Night was Kevin Greitert. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like to let me know. See you later.